Weapons for the zombie apocalypse. I ask the question, if the fictional zombie apocalypse was to ever happen, what gear and what equipment would I use? What combinations would be best? What strategies would I use? And what should be my primary and secondary weapons? What should I use for armor? There are many things to consider when equipping for the zombie apocalypse, such as reach, destructive power, weight, reliability, and even how easy it is to maintenance. Remember, during the zombie apocalypse and the fall of civilization, you may or may not have the means to properly maintain your equipment. So this too is a factor to consider. Your primary weapon, I think it should be a ranged weapon, such as a firearm. I think a hunting rifle would be best, one that uses small velocity rounds, because smaller rounds means the more rounds you can carry. One only needs to look at the size difference of different kinds of ammunition. One also needs to ask, how hard is it to find this kind of ammunition? And would there be others willing to trade for it? Or could you scavenge for it? If this is a very rare or uncommon round, you may or may not be able to find the right ammunition. So this is something one has to consider. But if one does choose to use a two-handed weapon as their primary weapon, I think the pole hammer would be best versus a bladed weapon. Bladed weapons require maintenance, both to oil to keep the rust down and to sharpen them. Now remember, with the fall of civilization, expect to be operating in difficult environments. So I think a two-handed blunt weapon would be a better choice, whether it be a quarterstaff made of hardwood, a pole hammer, or perhaps a Japanese war club. That would probably make for a very good two-handed weapon. But there is an inherent flaw. If one tries to use these in an urban environment, they really struggle in tight corridors or through doorways. They don't do so well if they don't have the space to be swung around. Now the sword and shield is a classic. But large shields can be cumbersome, but they can be used in tight corridors and in urban environments. Now for more mobility, small shield and axe could be a better option because they're lighter, and the axe can also be used for chopping wood and as a tool. So there's more versatility and the mobility factor as well. But I think the ideal sidearm would probably be either a saber or a navy cutlass. This here is a Cold Steel 1796 saber. And the next example is the Condor Navy Cutlass Machete. The Condor Navy Cutlass Machete is my personal favorite sword that I have in my collection. It is incredibly light, fast, sharp, and the pommel offers exceptional protection. So this is my primary choice for a melee weapon. Not only does the curvature of the blade allows for greater slashes, you can also use the curve of the blade to reach around your enemy defenses. Also, when scavenging, and after doing some tests and some experiments, I found the curvature of the blade very useful for checking around corners and blind spots. So for this reason, and many more, I think the Condor Navy Cutlass would be the best option for a melee weapon in the zombie apocalypse. However, if you're on a tight budget, I highly recommend the Cold Steel Copus Machete. It is an extremely powerful weapon and extremely well thought out. Now, if you have a bit more money to spend, I highly recommend the SOG Tomahawks. This here is the Fast Hawk, Tactical, and Voodoo Hawk. I like the Voodoo Hawk more because it's very powerful and also very maneuverable. The counterweight, or the pommel on the bottom, does make for a big difference. And also, axes do have multiple advantages over swords. Tomahawks, not only are they weapons, but they can also be used to chop wood. And because they can be used as a tool, when it comes to rebuilding civilization, the more jobs you can do with a tool, the greater the odds of your survival. So these tomahawks are incredibly versatile. Now for body armor. Should one use heavy armor, light armor, or no armor? During the zombie apocalypse, mobility will be key and being light. And also, something that requires very little maintenance. As good as plate armor is, or laminar, or chainmail, they are heavy, they will weigh you down, and depending on what it's made of, they're prone to rust, and they require maintenance. Remember, you're going to be exposed to the elements, and you're going to be outdoors for long periods of time. Now, it's true you can find modern replicas that are made of aluminum or stainless steel. But regardless, metal armor also creates noise. And it's very hard to be quiet while wearing them. A gambeson, on the other hand, such as this example, covers most of the body. Your arms are covered, your legs are covered, your body is covered. All in one piece. And it's not as prone to weather extremes. Metal armor, on the other hand, when it's warm, it's hot. When it's cool, it's freezing. This can be a liability when trying to survive in difficult environments. The gambeson, on the other hand, can be worn in combination with other clothing. It can even help you stay warm in colder climates. So this would be my pick for armor for the zombie apocalypse. Now you're asking, what's with the gas mask? When battling the undead horde, there's a possibility of getting infected, or just the raw stench of the undead horde would test just about anybody's constitution. So I decided to add a gas mask to my arsenal for battling the undead hordes. But then I thought, I need something more. With such an emphasis on speed and mobility, I decided to design something specifically for this project. This here is my own invention. I designed it myself. It is the camouflage cloak. And unlike other camouflage cloaks, this one here has pockets. I designed it this way so it can be used both as a cloak and as a light backpack. It comes on and off easy, and it can be used to hide your stash. And because it's a cloak, it conceals the human form, increasing your camouflage. Also, it helps protect you from the elements. And it can be worn over your normal clothing, or even be worn over whatever armor you happen to be wearing. It can double as a blanket, and the fact it's made of a material that can repel rain. It can help protect you from the elements, increasing the odds of survival and decreasing the effects of exposure to the outdoor environment. There's a lot more that I can cover on what I think it would be necessary to survive a zombie apocalypse.